everyone, Captain Kev here, Centrist Radicals. We're happy you joined us today. I'm going to introduce you to my co-host Rocket Rob here in just a second, but first let me explain to you how you got here. You got here probably because you're sick and tired of what's going on the left, what's going on the right, when most of us are sitting here in the middle, right? All of us agree on most things, so why not have a voice? All the research that I did, that we did, we couldn't find anybody out there talking about this sort of thing, short of Bill Maher, and he leans a little bit one way. Well, we're not leaning anyway. We're here to help. We're here to help you. That's what I've been doing my whole life. I work with disasters, first responders, from everything from floods, hurricanes, wildfires, tornadoes, you name it. And when I'm in these situations, what I find mostly is that people come together, right? There's no fighting. People aren't caring about what religion that you're in, who you voted for, how you go about living your life. It just doesn't matter because the chips are down. We're all humans. We're all Americans. And that's what this is really about. That's what this show's about America. The biggest voting bloc in every election is what? Swing voters, the moderates. Yeah, that's right. Do you see any shows around here for you guys? No. Do you see any polls with what the moderates are thinking? What the centrists are thinking? No. On the left, on the right. What do Republicans think? What do Democrats think? I don't care anymore. I care about what the American people think. That's where you guys have to have a voice. And so that's why I'm here. That's why Rocket Rob's here. See, we think alike, but we also think different. I have one way of putting it. He's got another way of putting it. It's okay. We're not supposed to agree on everything. So coming together is what this show is all about. And I want you guys to do that with us. In fact, I just got a note sent to me today. And this came from one of my followers over in one of the disaster areas. That's right. That's currently dealing with things right now. And in this disaster area in Texas, remember the flood there? Not the one last year that was really bad. I mean, that was bad. That was going to stick with us. But the one that's happened just last week. Yeah, there's another flood there if you didn't know. And this is how people are responding. I got this message. This is how we the people make America great. We prefer to say fix America because we think America's great already, but I digress. Not all political crap being posted these days. Thanks and prayers for all the safety and all the people, wasn't the best grammar, who goes to help the neighbors. What's the message there? The message there is, thank you for helping. We're tired of political crap. Thank you for being here with us today. You know, that's what it's about. Neighbors helping neighbors, people helping people. That's what Americans have been doing since the dawn of time. So it's time for us to, as I've said through the years, lean on each other, right? We lean in. When you're hurting, you lean in. Our country's hurting. Time to lean into each other, not away. The extremes lean away, left and right. If we turn that around, boom, now we're leaning on each other. It's not that difficult. But see, that creates power, makes us very powerful. And I want to do that with you. I want to help you get more powerful. And so does my co-host, Rocket Rob. Gird your ears. He's coming. Rocket Rob, how you doing today?
Well, Kevin, that's an interesting question. I'm probably the strangest American out there. I mean, been around the world. I consider myself an international redneck boy from Northwest Florida. So there you go.
Why do you think we need to be doing a show like this, stirring up trouble? Do you think this is about trouble or do you think this is about solutions?
It has to be about solutions, Kevin. And basically, people have a tendency in America, especially, to whine and complain. We have solutions. Kevin and I are going to put together this program, and it's going to be apolitical. We're not going to side with political parties. I don't have any use for any political party, And for those who are thinking about running for office and being a public servant, as opposed to us being their slaves or their sharecroppers, which I think is a prevailing attitude with a lot of politicians out there nowadays, I think that we need to focus on this commonality of being a centrist and what that means in America today.
Well, we're about to get into that together here, aren't we, in just a second. Now, what should people know about your background that should lead them to believe that you know what the heck you're talking about? Why they should bother listening to you? You know, I mean, you seem to be a smart guy. I like you. It doesn't mean that everyone's gonna. So what's the pitch here, bud?
Well, people are either going to love me or they're really going to hate me, and there doesn't seem to be a middle ground. But it's probably because I'm going to be misunderstood. Um, Again, I grew up around the planet. My father was an Air Force officer. He met my mom at Keesler Air Force Base. She was a flight nurse. And quite frankly, because of the Uncle Sam in the Air Force, that's why I'm here today. Living around the world in weird and exotic places like Spain and Venezuela offered me a chance to really learn other cultures. And also being an only child, I read a lot of my dad's books. Well, he was a very interesting Air Force officer. He was a special ops guy who had dealings a lot with the CIA and Air America and such during his tour in Southeast Asia, and he was an avid anti-communist, anti-socialist, anti-fascist. And he raised me to believe in those things. So raising me up as as the Eagle Scout and the choir boy, and getting into politics in my school and in my fraternity, um, just in general, trying to be a good leader is how he trained me to be, and a thinker and somebody who could discern and make my own mind up as opposed to being told what to do. That was very important to my father, and I respect my dad for the fact that he was this free thinking kind of guy who started out in the 50s as a college student, actually taking over a cafeteria at Duke University. He was from UNC, but at Duke, and led a protest with a few of the white students there to basically open up the cafeteria for black people. That was pretty heady stuff for a young white guy, a young redneck white guy, country boy in the 50s in North Carolina. So I believe that growing up around all that and reading all of his books and having all these conversations on the socioeconomic political side of life, it enabled me to become a little bit smarter than the average cat. Am I a know-it-all? No, not any stretch of the imagination. I'm a want to know it all, though. And so after college and getting my criminology degree, and based upon the core studies of psychology, sociology, social sciences, I really became, after college, a social scientist, which was strange because I needed a job and they wouldn't know. Atlanta Journal Constitution at that moment was not looking for social scientists per se, but boy, everybody wanted to use car salesman, and that's kind of how I got in my 41-year career as a car guy. But not only did I buy and sell cars and started up one of the first buying services pre-internet, I might add, to help people obtain their wants and needs, to get the very best car. And I wasn't bound to, you can only have the Mazda, or you can only have the Nissan, or you can only have the Chevy. I represented all the cars, new and used, all the financing options, and that allowed my clients to get their best choice. And it was really a matter of choice, free will, information. And what I learned in all the books I read about selling and closing and all that, it taught me. Zig Ziglar was an amazing force in my life, and he had a book, and he described the fact that you're never going to get rich just beating people up in sales. He said something to the effect, the more people you help obtain their wants and needs, the more successful you're going to become. And then, of course, uh, this crazy life I've had is like a Forrest Gump meets I Love Lucy on acid, right? I met interesting people, such as the Guinness Book of World Record holder, all-time car guy, Larry Merritt. And Larry was my fleet guy at a Chevy store. When I needed Chevys, he would sell them to me 100 over cost, triple net cost, and my clients would get just outstanding deals. And he's the one who really turned me on to the essence of growing your book of business. You have to become that business inside of a business and treat it as such, and you build your business through repeat and referral business. So taking all that information in, and then starting to write sales training manuals for the automotive industry, the 100% closer, and the other book that I wrote before that, which was the Grill Automotive Shopper. That was a book for consumers that I created to use as a marketing tool for strategic alliance co-opting, if you will. I got thousands of leads for just the price of the books by giving the books away, catching them upstream of the lead channel, if you will. And that's how we got started, and that's how I started making my money finally after years and years of being broke and sweating and toiling and growing a business the old-fashioned way. Nobody handed me a thing. I had to start it in debt from scratch and just never quit. With that, at the end of the whole thing, I wind up being a sales trainer and a process writer, and my social scientist skills then enable me to become really an expert on the difference between selling somebody and manipulating somebody. And on that point, I'll turn it back over to you because if you give me a mic, I might not let it go, Kev. Okay, so anyhow, um, the difference between good salesmanship and being a con artist is in the intent. What is the intent of the seller in this case to the buyer? If it's to rip them off and steal from them and cajole them and to threaten them and to lie to them and to manipulate them, that's not a good business deal for the buyer. Okay, that's evil. Okay. On the flip side, if you're a careful communicator and you're giving your client every chance and every opportunity to think their way through their best decision of the things that meet their wants and needs, that's called salesmanship. That's called being an effective communicator. So, like me or hate me, I'm an old football coach too. I'm sorry, but I'm going to call it the way it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's the way I was trained by some of the best coaches in high school coaching in Florida. These guys are half my coaching staff at Choctahatchee. It took us to a state championship, I might add, first team in Okaloosa County to go to a state championship in Florida. And I'll tell you about the results of that on another podcast. Build a little excitement. Bottom line is they knew how to grow a team, and they did it with integrity. Integrity was everything as a coach, and part of integrity is just calling it the way you see it and telling the truth.
Well, now you met Rocket Rob. This guy is full of character, full of life, and he also has got a really kind of crazy background. He's come from a family that's gone through living around the country, being a military brat himself, going around actually seeing these places that other folks don't get to see, having experiences most folks don't get to have. Went through school, got yourself educated, and when you came out, they just weren't looking for someone that had some intellectual chops, so to speak. So you took that and you put it out into the business world and used it for the greater good. It's like that's a beautiful thing in my book. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about why we're doing this at all. I mean, talk about a risk. I mean, we're doing something that doesn't really align with either party, right?
Worse than that, we're probably already labeled as domestic terrorists. I know I am,
Oh,
from
Lord.
having been a foreclosure fraud activist who was fighting for millions of Americans who were defrauded by the banks during the go-go years 15, 20 years ago of really poor lending. It was really a criminal conspiracy. And unfortunately, I don't believe any of those bankers ever went to prison on that. So, yeah, are we risking something here? Let me ask you a question, Kevin. Do you think that they're going to put us in prison for being centrist radicals and trying to unite all races and all religions and all age groups together?
Well, not us. Not if I frame you first. I mean, that's how this works. Um, the we joke about this because these topics are touchy in some ways, but the thing is, what we're talking about here isn't touchy at all. It's common sense. We're pointing out common sense doesn't exist anymore, and that's radical. We're talking about how to be a centrist, someone who pulls good ideas from everyone, regardless of party, regardless of where you come from, regardless of your religion, regardless of your skin color. It don't matter. Pull the best ideas from the best people. And it's what's funny is you see here this being parroted by all these different parties, and then used for their own purpose to get us to lean away from each other, to be tribal. I mean, when you came to me with this idea, and this is his idea, folks. Believe me, it's his idea. I'm happy to sign on to it. But this is his idea. Tell me why this is so pressing for you if you don't mind talking about it.
I'm a dead man walking.
Oh, we all are. I mean, come on, right? We all are.
Well, all right. So I'm in Colombia 6 years ago, and I'm dancing on tabletops with young single mom, hot looking Colombian girls. Uh, and I can assure you that I'm keeping this clean for the record. But yeah, I had a heart attack. Actually, had a nurse in the emergency room in Santa Marta who's friends with a girl that I kind of knew online, a Colombiana girl. And she said, Gringo, you were dead. So I think once you die, and I think you've had that same experience. And then before I pass the mic, I want to hear about your near-death experience. I think once you die, you really start to live, because now all of a sudden the things that were so measly in your life, so unimportant, it seemed that you were so important for you and everybody else around you, and that's debatable. The bottom line is, once you're dead and you are brought back to life, you have a whole new focus on life. So I've had my near death experience, and there was two things, and I'll be real brief on this. Two things that I had to accomplish when I came back to life. I had to take care of my ex-wife, who's still
Oh, God bless you.
she's still my girlfriend, woman today, 30 something years later, 31, 32 years later, two grown boys, very successful businessmen in and of their own right. She was my bookkeeper the whole time that I was gone for 10 years that we've been divorced. Divorce was her idea, not mine, by the way. So, ladies, sorry, I'm taken. And God gave her back to me. And a good friend of mine, let's call him Tracy, he knows who he is. He's a very Christian guy, and he said, Rob, you know, she's made her mind. You have to go on with your life. Put it in God's hands and let Him deal with it, and what's meant to be is meant to be. And from that moment on, I was free. And boy, if it didn't work that way, that was the neat part about how that turned out. So here we are, 30 something years later. The first thing I had to accomplish was get her and my boys set up financially for the rest of their life, which is now accomplished. And the second thing was, I'm an old Eagle Scout, guys. I was taught you never leave your campsite worse than the way, or you got to leave it better than the way you found it. So that's what prompted me to, with all my activism in the past and public speaking in the past and some radio shows and podcasts, I was bent and determined to understand this division in our country between especially Christians and non-Christians, Christians and other religions, and our veterans, and the impetus of why they were, I'd say it, suckered into going to war for Lockheed and Boeing and BlackRock and State Street, and they appreciate your servitude. Trust me on that. We're going to do the show. We're going to get very in depth on that, and we're going to have a lot of great lineup of people. And it's all basically going to be Bill of Rights supported in terms of discussing your property rights, your privacy rights, your 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 natural rights from God. And we're going to talk a whole host of different people with different views on this, but they all seem to go in the same vein of looking for the same thing. We all just want to be free. We all just want to be comfortable. We just want to raise our families with dignity and be happy. And I think all races and all religions should feel that way, and I bet they do.
Well, you hit the nail on the head there, that's for sure. As you alluded to, I had my own little death experience, and those of you who know me know what I went through. And when I came back, as you said, and you really do come back. When you experience this, folks, it reshuffles the priorities, right? Things that were stressful before just are not stressful anymore. Things that were top of mind aren't even on your mind. Um, this is kind of how I relate to people in those disaster areas because they've been stripped of everything. I was recently divorced. I didn't have my kids anymore. And I lost, people say, hey, at least you got your health. No, I didn't have that either.
Been there, done that.
And what does a man or woman, I can't speak for women, but I'm guessing this is the truth. What happens when that happens? We find our purpose. That's the only reason to continue, right? You've been stripped back to zero. You've been given a second chance to rewrite your book. Why wouldn't you write it in a purposeful way? And that's how I found search rescue work. It's how I found humanitarian work. That's how I found Rob. And he found this whole situation from finding his purpose. And he found me. And two people searching for purpose founded this, the centrist radicals. So, with that eloquent segue, if I don't mind my saying it myself, let's talk about what's coming up on the show here over the next few weeks.
Excellent, Kev. Great segue, by the way.
I thought
You are the segue master, my friend. Good kung fu move there, right, guys? So anyhow, um, Kevin nailed it really to the point. Our country's in a natural disaster right now, or man-made, and we're hurting, and we're divided. Sun Tzu, Divide and Conquer. We're going to talk a lot about Sun Tzu. I think we need a little Sun Tzu porcelain thing right here.
You need a gong?
A gong?
Every time you mention Sun Tzu, hit a little gong.
A gong.
Yeah.
We need a gong. We need Sun Tzu's little effigy there. What else do we need there?
And we need a happy Buddha and a crucifix so we can represent everybody.
What 1,100 or so cults and religions? Can we get all 1,100 of their things? Or is that overboard? Is that overkill?
I'm gonna need a bigger table and a wider lens.
Jeepers. Okay. All right.
We'll be inclusive. We got a captain. Captains are good. We're both captains, both sailors.
Both sailors. Yeah, we got the same little sailor guy at me and my wife's house, my ex-wife. So what do you call a woman who's your ex-wife? She was your wife. You're back together again. Swife? I made up that word. People look at me with crossed eyes. A swife, my swife.
Sounds like a 12-step program.
It's beyond a 12-step program.
And
But
14 steps.
but first thing you got to get out of denial. You got to leave denial behind. So in essence, what we're doing is search and rescue for America, and we're going to center around people of faith, and it's going to be whoever you believe is your spiritual figure, your creator in your life. Let's just assume that you can take, and this is old Wayne Dyer. Remember, I read a lot. Wayne Dyer. He was an excellent spiritual guy, self-help motivational guy, bordered on religious. But he would take a glass of water and say, well, in English, this is called water. But Germans call it Wasser. And in Spanish, and I'm fluent in Spanish, obviously, call it agua. Eso es agua. Perfecto. Okay, so if you get me, you can call God by many different names, but it's still the same glass of water. Okay, so Kevin, would you agree with me that this show is going to be about search and rescue of the American soul, and that we're going to conquer and rise above class lines and race lines and gender lines. Hopefully, there's two of them, but if you want to say there's 57 genders, I don't care. So we want everybody to come to our party. Everybody's welcome. Everybody, unless you're evil and you're for eternal wars for profits on insider trading for Congress people and their buddies up in D.C. who are getting rich on these endless wars based upon keeping the military-industrial complex in full gear. What are we really accomplishing in all those wars? We're going to have many shows on that. So get ready, Patriots. You're going to have to just bite your tongue, step back 5 feet away, float above the conversation, and just think for a second, are we making some valid points? So you ask a question about the shows. We're lining up people right now. We've got about 7 people lined up for the next 7 shows. We're always looking for input from you guys, the people out there, the planet. We want to interview anybody and everybody who's basically on board for this centrist movement to figure out our best way forward, as Kevin says, and to lean into each other, as he says. And he's correct about that. We're going to have Alex Nitger coming on, and Alex ran for, I believe it was the Senate. I can't remember if it was the Senate seat for Florida or for the United States. He'll clear that up. But he ran as a libertarian. Are we espousing the Libertarian Party? No. I think the Libertarians. Where's my air horn?
I put it away so you couldn't use it.
Okay, I'm going to bleep myself. They couldn't sell on a troop train. Okay, I hope y'all got that. Alex laughed. He thought that was funny. It is funny. So anyhow, we're not. He's no longer with the Libertarian Party, nor am I. Okay, what a clown show. They were overrun. Their masters was one of the same parties in the Uniparty that ran them and ran them off a cliff like they did the Tea Party and all the other liberty movements, the MAGA movement. Have you noticed the fundamental idea that you'd have this great movement that got so derailed and turned out to be something totally different than what it was? Do you agree with that?
Well, I tell you what I do agree with. What I agree with is that every good intention gets spoiled.
Why is that?
Well, politics mostly. But I want to touch on something you just said real quickly here before we get to the shows that are coming. And that's the concept, folks, of the Uniparty. What is the Uniparty? This is where I had to ask questions. Rob's coming to me going, what about the Uniparty? What about this? What about that? I'm like, what do you mean by that? I mean, so Uniparty. This is what we mean. There's one party. There's politics, political people. The political folks are the uniparty. They're made up of Republicans and Democrats. They're one party. I suggested that we've got a two-party system, actually. There's the politics, the politicians, right? Then there's Americans. There's us and them. That's how it works. They try to recruit us to them, even though they are still them and we are still us. That's the big flip. That's the trick.
Can I dogpile on that?
Absolutely.
2 points, Kevin. You're spot on. My first point would be, then why do we keep returning the same people into Congress 90% of every election cycle? Why do we keep voting the same rascals in? The second point, and this is really critical for you, the viewer, to understand. I'm not a good math guy, but the math don't lie. Okay, if we look at the votes very carefully in Congress, remember, the divide and conquer strategy is to divide you with these social wedge issues because we're always, as a country, going to disagree. And we're going to talk about the Nolan chart after we get through talking about the future people coming on the show. And we're going to blow through that real quick because what's more important is to discuss the Nolan chart, that politics is not just an x-axis but a y-axis too. You're going, huh? Never learned that. Well, that's because you were high and you didn't go to history. You're in political science class in high school, or they didn't teach it. So, in essence, I look at the votes, and when I look at the votes for these endless wars and to give $300 billion to an unnamed country, probably need a foghorn on that one so we don't get the FCC. Well, we're not regulated by the FCC, are we?
Now it's the internet. We can pretty much do whatever we want.
So we can say anything we please to, okay?
We're being
I
kind.
can't wait to use the air horn. It's going to be so much more effective, Kev. So anyhow, look at the votes. I think it was 322 to 6 in the House of Reps to continue more foreign aid to this little psychotic country, to continue these endless wars that we've been fighting for the same little nameless country for 25 years. And what did we really accomplish? Nothing. We accomplished 40 or 41 trillion in national debt today. You may have gone from 40 yesterday to 41 today because it's just going to keep getting worse. An unsustainable amount of money we will never pay back. We can't pay back the interest. How are we going to pay back the principal? Well, we have some solutions on that. By the way, we have 27 solutions, Kevin and I, on how to fix America first. And that's going to be another show for another day. Go to our website. Tell them about the website real quick.
For all the things we're talking about here today and every day, we'll be continually updating our website. So you can go to centristradicals.com. That's centristradicals.com, not net, not anything else. And you'll see on there a resources area. All the resources for things we're talking about are there, including what you're going to hear about in just a second called Nolan chart. Before we get to the Nolan chart, and this is relevant, it was just in the news today in a totally different way, and I'll lead you into that in a second. But Rob, I'd like you to fill us in on maybe our first two guests.
Okay.
So we're not going to tell you the whole thing yet, but the first two, the next two that you're going to see, and the first one deals with something in the news right now, especially in Florida.
Okay. So we're gonna tease you a little bit, guys. We're gonna hold back the other five and just talk about our second person. I like this guy. He's an Escambia County guy. Um, he would probably jokingly call himself a redneck, but he's a constitutionalist redneck. Boy, that's a part of our culture, isn't it? And a veteran. I forgot about that. And his name is Jacob Rockwell. Jacob Rockwell. He's going to become a famous name across America, and we're going to promote the guy because his heart and his soul and his message are correct. And what he's talking about is government overreach on camera systems and AI data centers. He's a camera guy. He's a flock guy, and he's gonna educate a lot of you as to what's happening. I didn't even know we had all these cameras up until recently, and I thought I was an educated, smart guy who reads a lot.
Light cameras.
Yeah, we thought they were red light cameras. Huh? I thought they were cameras at toll booths, to get tolls, which we let them slide with, and probably makes sense as long as they're not reading your eyeballs and your irises and putting you in a database that tells law enforcement or whoever wants to buy the information to hold against you in a court of law one day without a warrant. So we're going to have constitutional experts and other people on board. So, and back to Alex real quick, like Alex is going to talk about why third parties, and all political parties don't work. None of them. They never will work because then you got to then segue back to there's websites out there that actually track their voting. APAC Tracker is a great website to check out to see who's voting on money that's spent for 95% of our Congress gets campaign money from, we'll call it dark money sources. We won't even go into the where the money's coming from on today's show. We'll leave, gotta leave some mystery, right? Um, but more importantly, you can then look at their incomes on their insider trading, stock manipulation trading, on insider trading that's illegal for you, illegal for me, and illegal for Martha Stewart. But somehow the Congress critters voted it into law that they're not going to prison to get mega rich off being, I don't even want to call them politicians. We need a new word for that. I'm afraid we'd have to use the air horn again. But we're gonna come up we're gonna come up with a code name. You got any ideas for a code name for Congress critters, people in Congress?
I think critter is the right way to put it.
Critters.
Bottom dwellers. They call them swamp
Oh,
people
there's got to be
before,
something
but
far
there's
more.
got to be some. Yeah.
There's got to be something
I
more
tell you what,
insulting.
leave that one in the comments. What is a good name for not just a dirty politician, because they're all pretty dirty, about the ones that are doing things that you couldn't do in your life, otherwise you'd be thrown in jail? What would you call those people? Getting away with it.
Excellent, excellent point. Good
So
job.
fill me in a little bit, real quick, on
Yes.
we've got flock cameras.
Yep.
Show number one. That's coming up. Our first interview will be about flock camera. Now we have some past gubernatorial
Well,
candidates.
I'm your first interview actually, so and you're doing a good job. Excellent.
Thanks.
Checks in the mail. Checks in the mail.
Thanks. All right. Our first real interview. Sorry, I had to do it. Our first interviewee that's coming into studio
It's probably Rockwell.
will be our flock camera person,
Jacob, yeah.
Jacob coming in.
Yep.
And then there's a couple of gubernatorial candidates that were coming in too.
That would be Alex Snitker, who again, and he was a very top echelon guy with the Florida Libertarian Party and ran for, again, I can't remember this exactly, if it's the state Senate seat in Florida or the U.S. Congress seat for national. So he's gonna clue us in, but he's an expert on political dynamics, and he understands partisan, uh, partly cloudy. He understands politics very well, and he's going to explain, and I'm going to agree with him why a third party never works, and especially why we probably just need to eliminate the political party system altogether and just vote independents in. And I've got some interesting ideas behind that, such as why don't they sign contracts with the American people as an independent that state if they go back on a campaign promise that they can be thrown in prison for fraud and that they won't even make us go after them. They'll just volunteer to send themselves to jail and go to jail for 5 years for lying to us. Because to me, that's election fraud. To lie to you, if you look at UCC and other business type related laws, breach of contract issues, to me, politics is a business and government is a business. Why don't you reframe your minds into thinking that, and they're not government. That was a word they made up to trick you. They're a permitting business. They're a licensing business. And how about this, Kevin? Can we get the crowd to help us come up with a term that's not a cuss word that describes that issue in and of itself?
Yeah. I think this is something that we do need your help with because we are in new ground here. The questions that Rob is bringing up right now is 100% accurate. Why? Because there aren't terms for these things. We're in new area, new territory, so to speak. There have been folks that have come out and said, "I'm a moderate, I'm a liberal, I'm a Republican, I'm an independent." But frankly, we're all of those things. Today I was telling Rob earlier today that there is a gentleman on the news. I was watching the news this morning, and they put out a chart, and this chart looked like a heat map bullseye, right? So in the center of that map, right in the middle, you've got care about self and family. On the outside edges of that heat map, you've got other people elsewhere and their problems. And where you fall in that heat map, in their mind, says whether you're Republican or Democrat. Democrats tend to be a little further outside of center, further outside of self, more into helping other people. The Republican side are more self-centric, more helping family and local community. Um, But I thought it was funny that they only had Republican response, Democrat response, and they're polar opposites. There's a big, huge chasm in the middle of that, and sitting in that middle of the chasm is all of us.
The dead space.
Yeah, so there's no pole for you guys, but there kind of is. And it's called the Nolan chart, and this is something Rob introduced me to that he can tell you a little bit about quickly, but I want you to know it's on our website, centristradicals.com. Go there, it's right on the homepage. You can also find deeper descriptions under Rob's bio. So fill us in, what's the Nolan chart about? Why is it important?
You are truly the master of segue.
I'm good.
That was brilliant. Wow. Anyhow, Kevin nails it. The Nolan chart. Do any of you all even know what the Nolan chart is? The Nolan chart was devised 30, 40 years ago by a political scientist guy. And remember, I'm a social scientist infused with a lot of socioeconomic and political thought and history. The Nolan chart basically is a graphic of the x-axis of, let's see, I got to reverse my mind here, of left going right, left, right, Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, right? You with me so far? But wait, there's another axis. It's called the y-axis and intersects with the x-axis. The y-axis. Look, I'm doing a cross, man.
Hello, Father.
Hello, Father.
That's right.
We're here to confess our sins today. Anyhow, the sins of politics. Oh, geez. Sinners. Anyhow.
So yeah, north, south, east, west.
North, south, east, west. Yeah, it's a compass. It's a circle. It really. I redid the Nolan chart and have updated to the 2026 version of. I call it the Rob Harrington modified Nolan chart. Well, you can call it the Harrington chart. You can call it the crazy centrist radical chart. I don't care what you call it. It really doesn't matter what you call it. But it's on our website. And in essence, at the top, at the North Star, is freedom, liberty, less taxes, get out of all wars. We don't need them. Leave me alone. Okay, that's the Libertarian Party's mantra, which is why the Libertarians can't sell on a troop train. Because how you can't get the majority of America to buy into that, and you only get 2-3% of a national election every time you run, there's something wrong with that story. And at the bottom of the y-axis, the bottom dwellers, we can call them, there's your tyranny, your tyrannist, your socialist, your communist, your fascist. Well, okay, the ists, right? Capitalists they're supposed to be somewhere floating in here, right? But the capitalist, if it's crony capitalism, that's fascism. Benito Mussolini's own words, 3 words. Fascism is corporatism. Repeat it 10 times. Because why you Americans can't figure out that we're a fascist country now. Oh, we're not like Hitler or Mussolini. The hell we're not. Anytime your corporations are running the show and they control your politicians with the big dark money pools of the billions and billions and billions they have to control our politics, which controls the endless wars that only make money for the right corporations. There you go, full circle. Down at the bottom is tyranny, and that's where we're at tyranny level. I know what else we need for this table. We need a flashing red light we can press the button on. Emergency cops, pulling you over. You know what it's like when the cops pull you over in the river and you see the blue and red lights going, right? The tyranny button, red light. Okay, so anyhow.
Tyrannical tendencies going on in this country right now. This is the importance of why we got to do this, is because we don't want our country to become fascist. We're sick of the fascist tendencies going on. We're sick of the corporatism going on. We're sick of not getting the full story on anything. All the words are parsed and phrased ever so carefully. This is how you sell stuff, right? You use $1 foot, 50 foot worth of words when you should only need 25 cents worth.
Or you make up new words and just make them up as you go along and try to sell the American people that a word has some kind of meaning when it's just a word.
Like what do you say? Underestimate me. Isn't that a famous word? So misunderestimate.
Is that a Bush thing?
Yeah,
Is that Bushy Jr.?
Don't misunderestimate me when I talk to you here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope that politicians up there don't misunderestimate the American public, because I think we've had enough, and I think we're at the tipping point. I think it's time we all come together and unite as a people across all races, all religions, all sexes, all socioeconomic groups, except for the plunder class, the corporatist fascists.
So I want to get back to the Nolan chart though, because you're going to get going on this roll here in a
Uh-oh.
second. I got to get you back here to the Nolan chart right quick.
That's fine.
So we've got north and south. So at the top, up north, we've got the most extreme version of leave me alone, no government, lightest government. It could even go as far as anarchy at the very top of it. Just nothing at all. But that's taking it to extreme because we're talking about extremes of the chart now, way at the edges, right?
More on anarchy later. Okay. Don't even talk about anarchy in front of this crowd right now, because now they're going to see a bunch of hippies smoking dope out there doing free sex naked out there with guns in their hands. So we don't even want to go there
Say anything
for now.
happens, right? So we got north and south, tyranny at the bottom, anarchy at the top. On the two east-west, we've got what? Is this right and left, Republican, Democrat?
Yeah,
kind of
pretty
thing?
much.
Okay.
Pretty much. And keep in mind too that as centrists, by the way, that Nolan chart quiz is free. It's on our website. Can we promise you're not going to get database? Trust me. If you've already been on any social media, if you've pressed "you like puppies and kittens" on Facebook, you're already database.
So we can go. I see. I haven't done this myself yet. So like that link will plot me on the
Yes,
Nolan chart.
goes
So
right to Paula quiz.
it'll tell me if I'm a little bit center left, center right. If I'm a little more towards
Yes.
anarchy or a little more towards tyranny.
Right.
That sounds scary. I don't want
Yeah.
to do that.
Well, knowledge is power. Know thyself.
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss. Well, in most Americans, this is what your problem is. No offense. Y'all are just intellectually lazy. And you're too busy mowing the grass, eating the grass, instead of looking up to what's going on all around you. That's what we're here to do. We're here to pour the cold water on you and be your coaches or your rescuers or however you want to perceive us. That's your thought. That's your perception. You own that perception. This is all voluntary. This life we have should be voluntary. It should be free will that God gave us. God gave us free will. God gave us the ability to discern in the Bible. Discern, right? And I don't want to take this too far off the course of what we've already covered. I think we're coming to the end on this thing for today's first podcast. But we're going to take on a wild ride. Go to our website. What's the name of it again?
CentristRadicals.com.
CentristRadicals.com. And the Nolan chart's on there. Take the quiz for free. Find out where you're at on the chart. Most all Americans, in my humble opinion, are going to be wind up somewhere in the upper 20% quadrant between being a person with social leanings who really do want to help people at the expense of government, and then on the flip side are fiscal conservatives who want to have balanced budgets and don't want to give all the money away for free for just every stinking reason under the sun, all the pork barrel spending going on out there, all the needless wars going on. Guys, we're 41 trillion in debt, national debt. We're bankrupt. There's no getting out of it. Well, there's some solutions, some peaceful solutions, and we'll talk about those coming in future shows. So with that being stated, is there anything else you think we ought to talk about on this historic first podcast for the CentristRadicals.com group?
Just one thing. Now, before we wrap up here, folks, I want you to understand that what's going on with this conversation, what's going on with your conversations at home, aren't any different. We can express our feelings however we want to express them. If we want to talk about that, we feel like that we're falling into a state of tyranny here because of certain things being done with corporations and leading us towards a fascist state. Well, we can talk about that. Prove me wrong. Prove him wrong. We're all completely open. That's the idea. Let us all come together, fix the problems that we have, and realize that you don't have to be the center of the bullseye. The center of the bullseye, the center, the truest, most truest centrist. Oh, here we go again. Don't worry, we're going to get you the right size flag, Rob, I promise. The truest, most truest centrist is scary, right? Center of the bullseye, you don't have any feelings anyway. You got to have feelings in one direction or the other. We just don't expect anybody to be far, far left, far, far right, because by nature we're just not. Everybody seeks to get along. Everybody seeks to be together. And that's what this show's about.
And on that note, If you're too far left and you're too far right and you cover the circle, guess what? Then you've got fascist Democrats and fascist Republicans meeting down at the center under corporatism. That's the key takeaway for today's podcast: to start your political enlightenment, to get you folks back on track. And never forget, it's all about this.
That's right.
What is this, Kevin?
Well, that there would be the Constitution.
Well, the Declaration of Independence, but it's all tied together with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
Congress, July 4th, 1776. Well, damn, you'd be right. That is the Bill of Rights. Well, I'm proud to say that this man right here holds these rights to be self-evident, just like it starts. He also takes it seriously. We have a lot of fun here. At the same time, we're talking about serious subjects. These are serious topics. But for today, have a little fun. See where you found that Nolan chart. I think that would be fun for people to see exactly where they actually line up. And frankly, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to do it right after the show. And as long as I am somewhere to the left or right of that center line moving north, I'm a happy camper.
And it's free. No charge. It's free, guys. It only takes 5 minutes. It's about 20 questions. Answer them honestly, and you're going to notice a kind of a trend in the questions. But at the end of the day, you're going to get your Nolan chart with your red dot of where you sit on that thing. And again, I would bet anything. I'll bet you $1 today, Kev. I'll bet you $1. 80% of our country is towards the North Star, the top end, towards freedom and liberty. A little bit social leanings, a little bit fiscal conservative leanings, but that's, I think, who Americans really are, and that's why you guys gotta. There's a saying: you could take your chains from around your neck, or place your chains lightly upon your neck, and we barely knew you. In other words, you can be a slave or you can be free. Take your pick. And it's just like the old closing sales trick of them all. And I'm going to finish my part of the show with this. There's a close called the alternate advance close. Tommy Hopkins called it the alternate advance. I call it the alternate choice close. It's the same thing. So when I wrote my sales book, it's a staple. It's the first most important close we all learn. And what it is, it's a framing close. It asks you a question. Okay. Do you want the red one or do you want the blue one? And most Americans are going to say, well, I'll take the red one or I'll take the blue one. Well, what if you want the purple one? Well, the purple one's not on the choice of the menu, so it has to be red or blue. That's where you guys are getting suckered. You do have choices. And we're going to teach you how to do that, how to stay independent, vote independence, how to organize and sell groups so that you will not be easily influenced or integrated into by interlopers, by people looking to smash this peaceful. We haven't talked about peaceful. And then I'm going to end my part. This is the last thing I'm going to say. This has to be peaceful, people. Otherwise, I go to federal prison. He's going to jump on a sailboat and get out of here. But it's not good. We can't do this with violence. But we have 27 solutions and goals, and then we're going to provide training for peaceful centrists who want to change our country and our direction. Because as America goes, so do we. And remember, the Constitution of the United States is the most beautiful document on government ever written in the history of mankind. Over 100 countries have stolen, borrowed, or taken our Constitution and created their own constitutions because it is a master class in freedom and liberty and checks and balances in government. Government was never allowed to become a big fat pig. All they do is suck money out of us and make us poor so that your gas goes up. Your diesel, you're happy with your diesel prices in that big old diesel truck? Yeah. So there you go, guys. That's how you're going to be affected, is when you're basically all sharecropping slaves, which you've been for the longest time and didn't know any better. So on that, I think I'm going to turn off my part of the mic, hand it back to you, and if you'll clean us up and say, hey, get ready. I'm excited and really excited to be with you, Kevin. I think that all people in our lives, there was a reason for everybody, and to meet Kevin and to do this show is so important and so critical. It's mission critical to our freedoms and our liberties, and I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you are as a person and as a centrist radical, dude.
Boy, hey, I'll wear both them badges proudly. I tell you that much, my
Thank you,
friend.
brother.
So this is what we'd like you guys to do now. Um, Tune in to the next show. Share this one with everybody that you can possibly think of that is just sick of the way politics is going and want to listen to something a little bit different. Something smart, something intelligent, something that speaks to you where you live, because we live there too. Um, we want you to become leaders in your community. We want you to be able to speak about these things without fear. So, guys, tune back in next time around. We'll send a little post out, but send us your info through the website if you'd like to get involved, volunteer, help out, donate to the cause. We love you guys, and we'll see you back here next time. I'm Captain Kev. This is Rocket Rob.
Peace.
Centrist Radicals out.